Hi again, everyone. Welcome to the another continuation of the lectures for civil procedure. Our topic for today is trial. Okay, so trial, as you know, uh, is the presentation of evidence of the parties. Okay, in order to present to schedule the presentation of the respective evidences of the parties, there is what is so-called an order of trial. Okay, so the first um, party who should present evidence is the plaintiff. Okay. Section 1 provides that the initial presentation of plaintiff's evidence shall be set not later than 30 calendar days after the termination of the pre-trial conference. Plaintiff shall be allowed to present its evidence within a period of 3 months or 90 calendar days, which shall include the judicial dispute resolution. Okay, so after the pre-trial conference, okay, a month after, trial should begin. Okay, the plaintiff is allowed 3 months to present his evidence, including the judicial dispute resolution, if there is any. Because right now, the judicial dispute resolution is optional. Okay, the judge is granted the discretion to determine whether or not it is necessary to refer the case to JDR. Okay, because if there is no bright possibility of settlement, the JDR may be dispensed. Okay. After the presentation of the plaintiff's evidence, it will now be the turn of the defendant to present his evidence. Okay. The initial presentation of defendant's evidence shall be set not later than 30 calendar days after the court's ruling on the plaintiff's formal offer of evidence. The defendant shall be allowed to present its evidence also within a period of 3 months. Okay, 3 months after the plaintiff has rested his case. So both of them have 3 months to present their respective evidences. Now, the period for the presentation of evidence on the third, fourth party complaint, etc., counterclaim or cross-claim shall be determined by the court, the total of which shall in no case exceed 90 calendar days. So, plaintiff, defendant, third, fourth party complaint, counterclaim, cross-claim. All of them have 90 calendar days or 3 months to present their respective evidences. If deemed necessary, the court shall set the presentation of the parties' respective rebuttal evidence, which shall be completed within a period of 30 calendar days for rebuttal evidence. Trial dates may be shortened depending on the number of witnesses, provided that the presentation of evidence of all the parties shall be terminated within a period of 10 months or 300 calendar days if there are no third or fourth party claim, counterclaim, or cross-claim. The presentation of evidence shall be terminated within a period of 6 months or 180 calendar days. Okay, the court will have a period not exceeding 3 months from submission of the case for resolution to decide the case. Okay, how about adjournments and postponements? Can you ask for the postponement of a hearing? Okay, we have previously discussed in motions that except when it is intended for delay, when the reason for the postponement is due to acts of God, force majeure, illness of a party or council, the court may grant the same, provided that it is not intended for delay and the corresponding postponement fee has been paid. Okay, a court may adjourn a trial from day to day, but it shall have no power to adjourn a trial for a longer period than 1 month for each adjournment, nor more than 3 months in all. So when you postpone or reset a hearing, it should, the period of resetting should not exceed 1 month. Okay. The party who caused the postponement is sworn that the presentation of its evidence must still be terminated on the remaining dates previously agreed upon. Now, what are the requirements of a motion to postpone a trial for illness of a party or of counsel? Okay. The illness of a party or a postponement due to illness of a party or counsel may be granted if it appears upon affidavit or sworn certification that the presence of such party or counsel is indispensable and that the character of his illness is such as to render his non-attendance excusable. Okay, so what is required to postpone a trial on the ground of illness of a party or counsel? You have to, of course, submit a motion, okay, ex parte motion to for transfer or to reset hearing. You cite the ground. So if it is due to an illness, you have to submit an affidavit stating the ground, the illness. Okay, that is the cause for postponement, and that the presence of such party is required for the trial. Again, order of trial. Of course, the first one to present evidence is the plaintiff, and then second is the defendant will be required to present evidence for his defense, counterclaim, cross-claim, and third-party complaint. So the fourth-party complaint and so forth shall adduce evidence to support the material facts pleaded by them. The parties against whom any counterclaim or cross-claim has been pleaded shall adduce evidence in support of their defense, and the parties may respectively adduce rebutting evidence only unless the court for good reasons permits them to adduce evidence upon their original case. Upon admission of the evidence, the case shall be submitted for decision. Oral offer of exhibits. So after the conclusion of the testimony of the last witness, okay, the plaintiff or the defendant, as the case may be, shall orally offer their evidence, okay, in open court. Okay. The parties to any action may agree in writing upon the facts involved in the litigation and submit the case for judgment on the facts agreed upon without the introduction of evidence. Okay. If the parties agree only on some of the facts in issue, trial shall be held as to the disputed facts in such order as the court prescribes. Okay. There are cases when the defendant was declared in default or the court allowed the ex parte presentation of evidence, as in the case of non-appearance during the pre-trial. So in such a case, the judge will delegate the reception of evidence to the branch clerk of court. Okay. The branch clerk of court will receive evidence but will not have the power to make a ruling on objections. If there are objections, then the clerk of court, the branch clerk of court will just note it, and it is the judge who will make a ruling on the objections. Okay. Consolidation. When actions involving a common question of law or fact are pending before the court, it may order a joint hearing or trial of any or all the matters in issue. It may even order all the actions consolidated to save the time of the court. So if there are common issues of fact or law with, in several cases, the court may order a joint trial, or the court may even order the consolidation of all the actions. Okay. Separate trials. In furtherance of convenience or to avoid prejudice, the court may also order a separate trial of any claim, cross-claim, counterclaim, or third-party complaint, or of any separate issue. We now go to trial by commissioner. There are two ways by which trial by commissioner can be resorted to. The first mode is reference by consent. Reference by consent meaning there is written consent of both parties for a trial by commissioner to be conducted. Okay, the second mode is reference ordered on motion. Okay, when one of the parties do not consent, when one or both parties do not consent, the court may, upon application of either of the parties or on its own motion, direct a reference to a commissioner in the following cases. Okay, when the trial of an issue requires the examination of a long account on either side, in which case the commissioner may be directed to hear and report upon the whole issue. B, when the taking of an account is necessary for the information of the court before judgment or for carrying a judgment into effect. And third is when a question of fact, other than upon pleadings, arises upon motion in any stage of a case or for carrying a judgment into effect. So in all of these three cases, the court may motu proprio refer the case to the commissioner or upon motion of either party. Okay. You must remember that in these cases, examination of a long account, okay, taking of an account, the court does not have sufficient time, okay, to conduct these proceedings. So the court may delegate it to a commissioner. Okay, when a reference is made, the clerk shall furnish the commissioner with a copy of the order of reference. The order may specify or limit the powers of the commissioner, may direct him to report only on particular issues or to do particular acts, to receive and report evidence only, and may fix the date for the beginning and closing of the hearing and for the filing of the report. Remember that when the commissioner conducts proceedings, he may rule on the admissibility of evidence. He may issue subpoena to witnesses. Now, what is the effect if a party fails to appear before a commissioner? The commissioner may adjourn the proceedings or he may proceed ex parte. Okay? It is all based on the commissioner's discretion. Okay? The refusal of a witness to obey a subpoena shall be deemed a contempt of the court which appointed the commissioner. Okay. Upon completion of the trial or the hearing, the commissioner shall file his report to the court. Okay. The said report will be set for hearing. The parties will be notified of the date of the hearing. They shall be allowed within 10 calendar days to signify their objections, if any, to the findings in the report. And upon hearing the objections of the parties, the court shall issue an order either adopting the report of the commissioner, modifying it, rejecting the report in whole or in part, or recommitting it with instructions, or requiring the parties to present further evidence before the commissioner or the court. Okay. When the parties stipulate that the commissioner's finding shall be final, only questions of law shall be considered. That is all for trial. Thank you for listening.